Hey, what's up, guys? It's Bakes here, and thank you for joining me for today's episode of my random horror reviews. So, today's movie, to be completely transparent, is not a straight up horror movie. I'd say the subgenres and genres that come to the forefront for this movie are definitely more so drama, thriller. There's even elements of romance, crime, and obviously true story components as well. But today's movie is 2018's Lizzie, The Legend of Lizzie Borden. Now, I should also add quickly, my knowledge on Lizzie Borden is minimal to none, to be completely honest. I presume it's because I'm Australian, and here in Australia, we definitely have not learnt about Lizzie Borden in school or whatever. I'm not sure if my American viewers, that was something like you were taught in school with American history, but this happened so long ago in America. I feel like, at least from my perspective, it's a very niche case in history there. So, at least for me and, other Australians that I grew up with, we definitely don't know much about Lizzie Borden. So, as I said, my knowledge on it is very minimal. If you know me, I'm a big Simpsons fan. That's pretty much the extent of my knowledge. She was in a Treehouse of Horror episode of The Simpsons. Martin Prince dressed up as her once in The Simpsons, and pretty much everything else I know about Lizzie Borden and what happened there. A little bits and pieces I've picked up through pop culture, but that's about it. I don't know how factual this movie is. I presume a lot of it is added, to buffer the story and dramatize it a bit more. Just from watching this movie alone, there's some parts where you go, how would they know that? Like, just sort of filling in gaps and whatever, but I don't know, it could be fairly accurate. I really just don't know. But either way, let's get into the plot of 2018's Lizzie. So this movie takes place in 1892. Lizzie Borden is living at home with her sister and her two parents, and she's sort of the outcast of her family, as in her family are this well-established, wealthy family within the community and around the area. But like I said, she's a bit more of an outcast, walks to the beat of her own drum. She's doing just a little bit more unorthodox things. Like, she's not completely unhinged and, shunned from society, but yeah, she's sort of doing her own thing. The family have also just hired a new, I guess, housemaid or whatever, played by Kristen Stewart here, and these two form a romantic relationship as the movie goes. The family gets threats, concerning their money and safety and everything, and then I guess the rest is pretty much all with the Lizzie Borden tale, her with an axe turning on her family. And I'm going to leave it there for the plot because, as I said, I'm pretty sure if you do know Lizzie Borden, most of this will be pretty familiar. So I'm just going to leave it there. Let's get into my thoughts of 2018's Lizzie. So I already know that this is going to be a very short and, I guess for you guys watching, an underwhelming review, because this is a very good and well made and well shot and well put together movie, from a technical aspect. Also, the dialogue and acting are both very strong. Probably my favourite parts of the movie, the dialogue, acting, everything there, really top notch. But to me, this movie, with all those things being said, still kind of feels pretty boring, and it sort of gives the vibe of like theatre play a little bit. Like, when you go to a local, low budget theatre play, and it's very acting heavy, and you're not going to see any big pyrotechnics or anything to blow your mind. You're just there for the performances and telling this slow, drawn out story over a couple of hours. It kind of feels like that to me, and that's not me saying at all that I don't respect, trying to stay accurate to the times and staying accurate to the story, even though, like I said in the intro, I'm not familiar with the story. I'm not saying that, switch out Lizzie Borden with an axe with a flamethrower and have her jumping out windows and coming in on helicopters. It's not what I'm saying at all. It just is a matter of personal taste and entertainment factor and everything. And to me, this movie is just kind of slow. I understand, I'm sure there's a market for these slower, romantic, periodic dramas, especially people that are really into history. Like I said, I'm not sure how accurate this is to the actual story, but I'm sure people that are interested in the Lizzie Borden tale, they can get something out of this. But for me, like I said before, this movie is very much carried by the performances, the dialogue, and a lot of the technical aspects. Getting into the acting, like I said, everyone in this movie does a really, really good job. But Kristen Stewart is the standout in this movie. Like, she demolishes her role. She is so fucking good in this movie. And like I said, that's really saying something when the cast as a whole, all round, do a really, really great job. So like I said, this was going to be a shorter review, and already I'm kind of ready to wrap up my thoughts and give it a rating, because honestly I'm kind of just grasping at straws at the moment. And I know a lot of, through this review I've kind of made it sound like I'm not into movies that are very performance reliant or slow burns or anything like that. There are tons of movies that I think are great that have those elements and whatever, but again, it comes down to personal taste. And for me, honestly, this movie, story wise and things going on, it's just kind of boring. You can have people act in the house down like Kristen Stewart in this movie, for example, like I said before, but just when I'm not getting into the story and I'm just kind of like, okay, where's the runtime at? And I'm like, okay, I got another 40 minutes, and then I check again and another 20. I'm just like, ugh, like that's where it really, slows it down for me. And I'm just like, okay, this is becoming a bit of a chore to get through now. Like I said, there are plenty of other slow burns or acting heavy movies that I do enjoy. This is just not an example. And I've said this so many times on my channel before, a movie can be a bad movie, but it can still be entertaining. This is like the opposite. This movie, on a technical aspect, is good. The acting's great. A lot of everything on paper is solid, besides pretty much the story. Like, I just feel like the story is kind of slow, a bit boring. And as I said, I know there's a market for a movie like this. If you're a historical buff, and like I said, if this is accurate, I presume this will be very much up your alley. But for someone like me, where, as I said, I wasn't even too familiar with the story in the first place, I feel like I wasn't really learning much to do with the story. Pretty much everything that's in this movie is stuff that I already sort of knew just from, as I said, picking up bits and pieces through pop culture and media, and little bits that I've heard over time. Like I said, I'm sort of grasping at straws and rambling. I'm not saying this is a bad movie at all, just not for me. So I'm going to give Lizzie from 2018 I'm thinking a 5.5 or a 6. I'll give it a generous 6, because as I said, everything on paper is good besides that story. It's just a little bit dull, a little bit slow, a little bit boring. But yeah, I think a 6 is fair. But if you've seen Lizzie, this version of the film, I think there's a few movies called Lizzie about Lizzie Borden. From memory, I could be wrong, but if you've seen this movie, let me know your thoughts on it. There might be people that are like really high up on this movie, and they agree with all the technical aspects and the performances and everything like that, but again, the story, they just like that more than what I do. But thank you for joining me for this review. Like I said, I knew it was going to be short. I knew I wasn't going to have much to say. When I was watching this movie, I'm just like, good acting, good dialogue, film looks good, everything like that. I kind of want it to be over. That was pretty much my experience with the film. So I knew it was going to be a shorter review, but I wanted to get content out there. But thank you for joining me again, guys. I'm sure I'll have another review coming out soon. Hopefully a little bit more excitement coming from my end. But thank you for joining me again, guys, and I'll see you for another video soon. Peace.